Yeah, good morning. Welcome to Sunday Edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. Don't forget, this is the only place to be for the best debate and analysis. Accept no imitations. What a start to the Premier League as champions Liverpool put 4 past Bournemouth on Friday. Then Man City hit 4 at Wolves yesterday. Are they back? A stunning performance by new boys Sunderland thumping West Ham 3-0. And already it feels like boss Graham Potter is under pressure. Hammers Vice Chair Karen Brady will be with us from 10 o'clock, reflecting on that and all the issues affecting the game today. And we have a brand new feature, Best of the Best. All will be revealed at 9:45. Don't forget, we're live on YouTube and your smart TV, so have a look at that. Just search talksport.com/watch for more details. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Morning, Henry.
Morning, Shaun. How are we?
Well, a point's a point, Henry, I suppose, Villa, but as the back pages reflect this morning,
and
we're missing a striker.
Were you joining in the chants from afar?
Yes, I was sort of there in spirit, Henry, as I watched on TV.
We don't care about Isak. He don't care about
That's all we care about. And NUFC.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And you echo that. And it's also echoed, as you say, on the back pages. In The Sun, your paper, Ed won't rap Toon Army for one greedy burp after Alexander Isak refused to play at Aston Villa. And it is, I mean, 2 things should happen here. First, he should put in a transfer request.
They never do that, do they?
I know, but
why not?
But why does he deserve a loyalty bonus or any financial recompense for Newcastle United when he's halfway through his contract? Absolutely shouldn't do. And also, Liverpool should put in a proper offer. £110 million for a player like his, particularly in a transfer window like this, where we've seen fairly decent players moving to sort of, 45, 50, 60 million pounds. He's an elite level player, which is why Liverpool understandably want him. Put in a proper offer. Maybe they're waiting until after next week's game, but it's staining the start of the season.
Refusing to play really is the last resort, isn't it? And it's one all fans hate from players when they pull that one.
You know Isak in terms of the character of the man. Is it him or is it his agent?
Oh, it's him. Come on.
Yeah.
A player like that who knows his own mind. Eddie Howe says a highly intelligent footballer, somebody who knows what he's doing. It's him. It's got to be. He's not going to just sitting there saying to his agent, "Oh, will you tell me what to do?" Come on, he's bigger than that and more and brighter than that.
What's the atmosphere going to be like in the boardroom when Liverpool visit?
Tense. They're certainly not going to sell them before that game, are they? Surely.
I mean, look, Liverpool have had a fantastic transfer window, but I do think they need to show a little bit more respect to Newcastle United and also respect to Isak, because he's more than £110 million player.
You think he was led to believe that they would bid 150 million? I don't think that can possibly have been said that they'd offer 150 million.
No, but that was all the mood music coming out of
but
Newcastle.
I don't think he can have been told that Liverpool were going to offer 150 million, do you?
What would you take for him?
150 million. I've told you before, that's the price.
But it's not going to go up to
if
that. Would you take 135
Well, I saw you
plus?
suggesting that it was 130 million plus. How do you know?
I don't. I'm not suggesting it. No, that's what I think he's
150 or you're staying and you put that black and white shirt on and you get on with it.
But then you say staying, but what's the atmosphere going to be like? What's every press conference going to be like? Is he going to be training? Is he going to be playing?
Once you're back, we saw this, as we've said before,
Ronaldo
getting another...
You've had it with Cabai, didn't you? He stayed when he looked like he was going.
Yeah, not quite as significant a player as this one. But, I mean, you had the whole thing we've said before about Harry Kane and Spurs, and they came to an agreement. He made it clear what was going to happen, and they sold him the following season. Ronaldo got told, stay another year, we'll let you go to Real Madrid after that. Maybe we can come up with, listen, Alex, see how this season goes, and we'll talk about it next summer. You don't think that? You think that's too simplistic?
Well, one phrase I didn't expect to see with the Isak saga is on the back page of the Mail, how find quick fix to Isak saga. Saga is definitely the word. Also on the back page of the Mail on Sunday, Simon Jones's piece, interesting story, Eze to miss Chelsea game as Spurs close in. I mean, they played well yesterday. I mean, Charlotteson's goals were fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you think, obviously, with Maddison out, and you wish him a speedy recovery, they looked at Gibbs White. There's a space or place in that team for number 10?
There is a place, especially for a player like him. The weird thing is he was getting linked with Arsenal quite a bit, and that seems to have gone away. How do you end up at Spurs if Arsenal were in for you?
I think Arteta was keen on him because he wants two players of quality. I don't know.
Well, you're the expert. Come on. Why is he not going to Arsenal? Where have Arsenal gone?
Maybe he looks at the Spurs team and said, I will definitely start. And this is a World Cup year, and you would hope that things like that will feature and that they want to play. He wants to start because he's played so well for Palace. It must be frustrating for Palace fans who keep sort of having these amazing things to celebrate, and then they get a kick from UEFA, they get a kick from other clubs. I mean, that is a South London roller coaster. And one thing I didn't necessarily expect, just looking at, I know we're quite Premier League heavy today, but looking at the Championship table and turning as I do to the Stoke Sentinel or Stoke-on-Trent Live, we see at the top of the Championship Stoke City.
Who'd have thought it?
But they're doing.
So they should be when they've got all that money to spend, Henry. As we mentioned last week.
We mentioned last week, and I just think, having sort of reflected on it, I think we need to maybe sort of just look into that.
Explain what we said.
Well, you said that they were very wealthy owners, but they didn't necessarily invest enough. And I think there's certain ramifications.
And you said, quite right.
No, I think that we should sort of discuss it, because we discussed Stoke last week, and obviously we're going to be discussing when Karen Brady comes in, we're going to be discussing owners and probably British owners as well. So Peter's son, John Coates, who's now the outright owner, I think it's fair to say he's spending a significant amount of money on the club, and I'm sure Stoke fans would echo this. And apparently, I mean, my maths aren't so good, but apparently I'm reliably informed it's $500 million that they have invested, the Coates family, and John Coates obviously is keen to keep investing. And obviously it's paying off in terms of their ambitious Championship club. They want to get back in the Premier League. We can remember covering them in the Premier League, while also they're doing this, and this is obviously a huge issue in football, particularly this time of year. They've been retaining an 18-year price freeze on tickets and season cards, and also. And I know you're big on travel, and I know you normally do corporate travels, but offering free coach travel for supporters to away fixtures. So I think when we had a go at them last week, I think it's important to to reflect and talk to Stoke fans and just sort of reflect on it. They've got a new fan zone and the training ground. I mean, we remember the training ground. I mean, it's just off the M6, not necessarily the most invested in sort of places, but you look at it now, £12 million new building, and also this is something that we can bring up with Karen. The sort of, you've got one of the wealthiest families in the country in terms of the Coates family, and the frustrations of PSR.
I think the point was that they'd been in the bottom half of the Championship for quite some time, and it seemed a weird place to be for a club that's so wealthy, and they pride themselves on what they do at Stoke City, the Coates family. You've clearly done lots of research all about them this week. And it's fair to say they feel a little bit bruised when they get criticised.
Yeah, and fair enough. And you look at a community there, and those clubs, Port Vale and obviously Stoke City, are hugely important in those communities in terms of, obviously, as a focal point, the football, the sport, but also just providing a sort of beacon of hope. So
now that you look at the Championship table and see them at the top, do we now expect them to maintain that position?
I mean, you can never predict the Championship, but I think it's great.
There's a bit of competition there.
There's a huge amount of competition there. But they might look, and I'm sorry to drag this up for you, they might look at Sunderland's performance yesterday and think, actually, if we go up, How did you feel about it?
Nothing quite as scary as seeing Sunderland top of the league for 2 hours, willing Man City to stick away that fourth goal. You know, we always used to say, do you bother putting the league table in the paper or even online after one game? People say, no, we never used to do it. It was never. Now it's in straight away. Teams at the bottom feel under pressure instantly. Teams at the top.
You didn't run it on Friday night, did you, after the Liverpool game?
No, we
didn't.
No, it wasn't run on Friday night, but it certainly was after last night. And well done, City, for getting a fourth goal there. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT, and next we look back at all of yesterday's Premier League action.
This is the talkSPORT Goal Show. It's the show for the fans. It's done by the fans.
Yes! Oh! Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Yes!
He is an unlocker of defensive back.
If you've got a problem or something to say,
You don't have the right to say anything about something. I do.
This nonsense kills the game.
Craig Pawson looks at his watch, blows his whistle, and the games begin. And they fed the ball through, and it's taken down Gordon, and Cons is going to be sent off. He's denied a goal-scoring opportunity, and usually there's loads of goals between these two. Usually the home team dominates, but not today.
They've lifted the roof off at the Stadium of Light, Mickey Gray.
Sunderland 1, West Ham 0. Eliza Mayenda with the header.
Tottenham 2, Burnley 0. Troy Deeney is up on his feet applauding his former teammate Richarlison. It is a brilliant overhead kick. Bang! What a finish.
And a chance here for Sunderland, and they've doubled the lead. As it comes into the area, know how good Dan Bollard is in the air. Guides it into the corner.
Brennan Johnson through the legs of the goalkeeper and into the bottom corner. Tottenham 3, Burnley 0.
Sunderland 3, West Ham 0. And it's Isidore with the third goal. His opening day's goal. They don't get any better than this.
This corner for Fulham will surely be their last chance.
It's been wrapped in! Oh, goodness gracious me! Muniz has done it!
Brighton 1, Fulham 1.
Wolves have lost 9 of their previous 10 Premier League games against City. Make that 10 out of 11. Wolves 0, City 4.
Yeah, that's how the Premier League sounded on talkSPORT yesterday. It's going to be a big, big day today as well. Just before I go on, I've been absolutely tickled by this text message that comes in. Max, the Villa fan, says, Henry, you said you can never predict the championship. You can predict anything. It doesn't mean your prediction will be correct. Quite right, Max.
Well, prediction.
He picked you up there. Anyway, we started in the Premier League on Friday night. It was actually a cracking game, but between Liverpool and Bournemouth. But before that, there were obviously the tributes to Diogo Jota
and Andre Silva. Yeah, very, very poignant. I mean, Shaun, nothing can provide real consolation, or any consolation really, for the loss of a loved one. You know, you think of the families, you know, those poor children, the partners, the parents who've lost 2 sons as well. But, you know, there must be some comfort, support in the way that football has rallied round. And obviously Liverpool fans, the Kop, all the tributes there, and how poignant the first game of the season should be at, you know, the home of the retired Liverpool 20 shirt. And Bournemouth fans, fantastic too, as you would expect. Anfield, you know, at 20 minutes when everyone was sort of applauding. And then also, you know, the following day, 18 minutes at Molineux, where his old Wolves number, City fans as well. And I just thought that tifo at the start, I was just watching on television like the Liverpool game the night before, but that tifo at the start from the Wolves fan was just incredibly affecting, moving, and then the sort of walk in fields of gold. And it's just, you know, it was just so powerful. And then on a very human level, to see, you know, the footage close up of Mo Salah, just with tears in his eyes. And it's just a reminder that these players, that they are flesh and blood, they're human beings, they have the same sort of emotions as the rest of us. But, you know, they've lost a teammate and a friend, and that very personal touch, I just thought sort of, you know, said it all. And it said it all about what a character Diogo Jota was and how loved he was as a person, as well as obviously as a player. So I just thought football just wrapped the, you know, the family, you know, around with love.
And what a shame it was marred by the alleged racist incident involving Semenyo.
Yeah, I mean, it's now the subject of a police investigation, so obviously we're limited with what we can say. But I think, you know, Virgil van Dijk on the back page of the Sunday People, if I can just, you know, return to the back pages briefly, you know, disgrace. I think he's talking sort of obviously generally about this issue in football. It's a societal problem. And I mean, I helped John Barnes write a book sort of 20 odd years ago, and it's almost like nothing's changed. And you just look, it has got better, and you do get sort of horrific incidents. But then people will say, and rightly so, is that it's just moved online. And the fact that, you know, the Premier League, they closed down 1,500 posts, or got 1,500 posts taken down on all forms of discrimination last season. And that, sadly, is probably, you know, the tip of the iceberg. So I just thought the way that, I mean, credit to Anthony Taylor, the way he handled it, but also Antoine Semenyo. I mean, he could have gone into his shell, but wow, what a player, what a character, what a man, those 2 goals. And then to put out that very sort of human, humble, graceful, gracious statement. I just thought, a tribute to the man. Credit.
And Liverpool, in the end, rallied pretty well to recover from that Bournemouth comeback and whacked in 4 altogether, which suggests to me they don't need a striker. So I think they'll be fine without one, Henry.
Willian, who they're being linked with, one of your famous players. But, Ekitike obviously can play on the left. But then you looked at how Gakpo played, and Gakpo's played well under Slot. There were a few sort of pictures of Rio Ungomar at 16. Obviously, he's very young, but what a pre-season he's had on the left for Liverpool. So, yeah. I mean, they're your favourites, Liverpool, for the title?
They look pretty good, especially if they get another striker, which they're not going to. Aston Villa drew 0-0 with Newcastle yesterday, and Anthony Gordon, it'd be fair to say, is no Isak. And of course, it's not his position to play down the middle. But after the game, Eddie Howe was asked if Isak will ever play for the club again.
We are active in the market. But I think you could see today, let's just look at what happened on the pitch. Anthony Gordon played very well today as a centre-forward. I thought he looked lively, he had chances. He's induced sending off with his pace. Wulasula came on, looked bright. So I'd rather focus on those players we have here. I'm sure everything off the pitch will take care of itself, and we'll find out where we are pretty soon. We're keen for a resolution because I think the consistent noise around the team, that's not healthy for any team. We're aware of that. We would like closure on it, but we're not in control of when.
Yeah, well, we sort of are in control, I think, because you could just say, just briefly, Henry, stay here. We haven't had an offer of 150 million. Get on with it. You've got 3 years left in your contract. Now put that black and white shirt on.
Don't you think Eddie Howe's handled it well? Because he hasn't really got a chief executive to
no, he's got nobody,
and he's hasn't got a sporting director. Yeah. You've got the Saudis. What exactly are they doing? Are they going to
do with some support from them saying,
absolutely,
this is how it is?
Do you miss Amanda Staveley?
Well, we discussed this last week. She was sort of the link between the supporters and the manager and the board. And, she used to be up front. Of course, she was up front when things were going very well. I'm not sure how she would have reacted to this, but yeah, it might have helped.
But she got on with the players, and as you say, she was a contact to the boards. But I just think Eddie Howe's handled it well, because he must sort of roll his eyes a little bit in press conferences, because inevitably these questions are going to come, and the noise is going to be there.
Indeed. Now, we've got quite a few games to rattle through. Yeah. Brighton 1, Fulham 1. Tottenham, pretty impressive, 3-0 win, but it was only Burnley. Richarlison, though.
That second goal, I mean, the first goal was good, but that second goal. Do you know what? I was just watching Match of the Day, how much width there was. I know teams playing with wing backs and all that, but isn't it great just to see wingers like that?
Wingers, ball into the box.
Old school.
Yeah, old school. It was great to see. So,
but Richarlison, what a player! I mean, I spent a bit of time with Duncan Ferguson last year, and he was just talking about Richarlison in training. So competitive. They used to have this sort of game where you just had to, whether it was a crossbar challenge or whether it was top bins or whatever it was, and they would have a point system back at Finch Farm on the wall, and Richarlison would come in and say, am I top? He's so competitive. So look, if he's fit, I mean, does he start for you?
Well, in that form he does.
Yeah.
I think he is an upgrade on Solanke, I've got to be honest. But yeah, he did do very well. And his English is improving as well.
Yeah.
Nice interview last night. Sunderland 3, West Ham 0 was a bit of a stunner, I think, because people are expecting Sunderland to struggle this season, but it looks like West Ham might be the ones who are struggling more. And after the game, Hammer's boss Graham Potter gave his assessment of the defeat.
Very disappointed because, ironically, I didn't think there was much in the game in terms of in between the boxes, but where it's really important, and you can see today that we weren't good enough. In the boxes defensively, we didn't do better with the goals. I thought first half we played well. I thought we were arguably the better team, controlled the game, lucky not to score, probably should have scored. And then second half, it's stop-start of the game. The flow wasn't quite there, and then before we know it, we're 2-0 down, and it happened too quickly. So, in this environment, it becomes very difficult then.
Don't forget, our special guest at 10 o'clock will be West Ham Vice Chair Karen Brady. No doubt we'll be talking a bit more about this game. Just quickly, though, Henry.
Sunderland. Let's talk Sunderland. I just saw
Reggie's Army.
Reggie's Army. I thought they played with wit, with passion. The support, obviously, was fantastic there. Was it 9 debut makers that he started with? They're obviously recruitment's good. If they can maintain that, it's really important for the Championship that teams that come up can actually stay up, because we don't want the yo-yos.
Are Man City back? 4-0 winners at Wolves?
Well, Reinders, what a player. I mean, he was fantastic in and out of possession. He's passing, he's dribbling. What's he, 46 million quid or whatever?
Ranking, 46 million.
Yeah, I mean, he was brilliant. Haaland's going to take some stopping this season.
Bad news for Foden, that, I think.
What, he just doesn't get in the team?
It's going to be a struggle, isn't it?
In off the right. But then you got Ryan Cherky as well, who was excellent. You know, they've bought well.
They have. So City look like they might be good Premier League challengers this season. Don't forget, Karen Brady is coming up at 10 o'clock. Next up, we look at today's Premier League action.
Aguero, Solskjaer.
Every spring, sports fans in Europe come together to celebrate arguably rugby's biggest annual tournament, the Six Nations. But why is it the home nations, plus France and Italy, and no one else? It all started back in 1871 when Scotland beat England in the very first international rugby match. A few years later, when they could field a team, Wales decided they'd host England and an idea was thought up. With Ireland keen, they formed the Home International Championship, which ran from 1883. In 1910, France was allowed to join, as they were developing into a serious rugby nation, and thus the Five Nations was born. France had an interesting history with the championship. They were actually booted out for paying their players in 1931, when the home nations were keen to keep it amateur. After World War II, though, France were let back in, but it remained a closed shop for more than 50 years. And when another country was let in, it was only really because the Five Nations hand had been forced. Italy was developing into a serious contender, beating Scotland, France and Ireland twice in the same year, meaning in 1999 officials got together and said yes to Italy, and it became the Six Nations. So what changes, if any, come next? 7 nations? 8? A promotion and relegation system? Or should we leave it alone and let it remain the great rugby tradition it's become?
If you really want to be optimistic with Arsenal, you'd go, this is the perfect time to go big.
Into the corner, and Gyökeres has scored.
Slips in Madueke, rolls it in for 2.
A lot of Arsenal fans I speak to have this sort of blind loyalty to Mikel Arteta.
So they should.
Yeah, you keep digging, and you have to be digging because one day the goal is going to be there.
They've lost today, and that means they equal a club record for the most Premier League defeats in a season. That is terrible for Manchester United.
Give them a chance to get to that window, and then you can start saying this looks like an Amorim squad. Now, how are they doing?
So he'll know how important the Premier League is this season. They've got no distraction of European football.
I think there'll be a demand and an expectation that they're a little bit more forward thinking, and so I think that plays into Arsenal's hand.
We cannot change everything in 4 weeks, but we are better.
Arsenal and Manchester United, a classic footballing rivalry. We know they don't like each other.
Yeah, Man United Arsenal is the standout fixture of this Premier League weekend. That's at 4:30 this afternoon, and humdinger in prospect, I think. Other fixtures are available, of course. Chelsea are playing Crystal Palace at 2, as are Nottingham Forest and Brentford. Now, Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta has been giving his thoughts ahead of Arsenal's crunch clash at Old Trafford.
I'm super excited. I can't wait. It's been a really productive pre-season. We made such an evolution in the squad as well, and we're ready to go. Especially the mood on the place, the energy around it, the enthusiasm that the boys, the staff came from day one, and that will to do better, to keep improving as a team and to win. And that's what it drives my energy, and that's why I'm so excited. It's not just my opinion, it's all the staff and especially the players. I asked them to vote the captains, and I got the results yesterday, and by a mile, but a big, 100 miles, everybody choosing the same person, which is Martin Odegaard, which is the most clear sign that you can have is how they feel about who has to be their captains to defend, improve, and win the matches that we want to win. So I think there's no question about that.
So will Martin Odegaard lead Arsenal to victory? It's an interesting fixture from the sense that so much focus is actually on both managers. It's incredible. It's not really so much the players, it's the bosses.
Well, both managers and both number 9s, or both sort of strikers.
Yeah, but the pressure is on both managers almost a bit more than the strikers. Or maybe it's
I mean, there's obvious focus on the strikers because they're new and they could have been at the other club as well. Yeah. So it'd be fascinating to see how they go. Absolutely. But, you know, these are elite managers, elite competitive individuals. They put pressure on themselves, let alone what sort of we throw at them.
Do you think Amorim did put pressure on himself? Because he sort of suggested Man U can't win the league. So that's taking some of the pressure off straight away, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's probably realistic. What was interesting in his press conference on Friday, he was actually talking about, does anyone in this room think that we're favourites for this game? He was basically just saying, you know, everyone thinks that Arsenal are going to win it because they're far more developed. And, you know, we've seen what they've done in the last 3 years in terms of finishing second. Still got to get over the line. I think it's going to be fascinating. Look, you can watch the dugouts if you want. I'm going to be watching the number 9s. I think it's fascinating.
You know what I mean? No, because Arteta, it's strange, but you keep finishing second. Eventually somebody's going to say we want somebody who finishes first. Amorim cannot possibly carry on with that run that Man United were on. I mean, it was just disastrous. And if he got off to a bad start, huge question marks are going to be. Whereas I think the strikers may be around for the whole season and maybe next season too. So that's why I'm saying that the managers are in serious scrutiny.
Right. I mean, I'll also be looking at Manchester United central midfield and wondering why Amorim, as you say, who's under scrutiny, hasn't addressed that yet. Because Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, if it is going to be those two, there's not a lot of supreme ability there, you know. And there's ability, but not mobility.
Oh, mobility.
Yeah.
I thought you said ability.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at you. Yeah, sort of. No, I think I'm amazed they haven't addressed that earlier in the window, whether it was going to sort of Brighton and they're being totally resistant about Belieber. And Brighton is such a well-run club; they don't need to sell for PSR reasons. But Belieber would exactly what they need. Bruno Fernandes is not a deeper lying central midfielder. He's a 10, and this is why.
Where's he going to play?
Well, exactly.
There's no room for him.
Well, no, he starts every game.
Instead of who?
But I think he plays in central midfield ahead of a Menu, obviously not, or an Agate. I just think Bruno Fernandes will play, but I think if he is being expected to track back or track runners, that's not his style.
We were just hearing on the news there a bit of interest in Adam Wharton, possibly at Man.
Slightly different player to Belieber.
Yeah, but Wharton is. I mean, you love Wharton.
Yeah, I do.
Thomas Tuchel doesn't seem to love Wharton quite so much, but he'd be a great asset to the squad, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw his partnership with Will Hughes when he came on at Wembley. I mean, those two just. I don't know, you've got the fire and the ice. Wharton gives you something that we don't actually see a lot. You could argue you could go back to Carrick's days in terms of an English midfield.
Henry Winter bingo. Michael Carrick at 9:39. You got to mention last week as well. Somebody mentioned that to me. Good old Carrick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's another one that your famous club let go or didn't.
He wasn't there. He was never there.
Oh, sorry, he was at Wallsend Boys Club. You should have kept an eye on him. I mean, how many players have...
You digress.
I digress. Anyway, so Adam Wharton, I think, is a terrific player. I think he's one of these. I mean, there's ice in his veins. The way he plays those passes, as he did to Mateta on last Sunday. He's a fantastic player, but he's not Belieber. And I think Belieber is the type that Manchester United need. Anyway,
in his column in The Sun, Troy Deeney was suggesting that Gyökeres might not be all that, and he was hoping he's proved wrong. I think he'd seen him, he'd played against him directly. And it's fair to say, when you score a few goals in Portugal, that's not necessarily enough to convince that you're going to score a lot in the Premier League, is it?
He has also played internationally. I think it's probably worth mentioning.
Who's the better player, if you like, Gyökeres or Sesko, in your view?
4 or 5 years difference in terms of their ages, in terms of their development. They're things that you can pick holes in Sesko's CV. I just think she just got to give them a chance and just see how they blend with all the else. I mean, you look at Sesko, you look at the service that he is going to get from Brian Mbeumo and from Mateus Cunha and Bruno Fernandes, wherever he is, probably not tracking back, but creating with his usual style. And then a little bit more from out wide. Patrick Dorgu's been good in pre-season. Our old friend Mason Mount, if he comes on for the last sort of 15 minutes, I'm sure he'll thread a few balls through to Sesko. I think Arsenal fans would just be going to Old Trafford, absolutely celebrating. They've got a number 9 in there.
As we learned from our texter earlier on, you can make predictions. They're not necessarily correct. What are you expecting?
In the game?
Yeah. Are you expecting to win? I'm expecting an Arsenal victory. So
I'm expecting 2-2.
You get off that fence.
Fence? It's a prediction.
Yeah. Okay, Arsenal win for me. The world champions are in action as well this afternoon. Were you convinced by them in the summer? Do you think they've sort of, recruited well and looking ready for the new season to mount maybe a title challenge?
I was very convinced with Cole Palmer. As the Club World Cup went on. I thought he was sensational in the final. I was very convinced with João Pedro, how he is slotted in. I don't know what it means for Liam Delap, because everyone's been talking about teams are going to play 2 up this season, but actually they're not. They're mainly going to play with 1 up, and then a 9 and a 10, Palmer and a 10, João Pedro as a 9. Obviously, João Pedro can play on the left, but it'd be interesting to see Gittings when he settles in, how good he is, because they paid a fair bit of money for him. Neto, whenever I've seen him play on the right for Chelsea, work rate, delivery, outstanding. You've then got Caicedo, who makes those runs. Enzo, who makes those runs from midfield with Caicedo, anchoring as well. I mean, Levi Colwill. I just think that's just such brutal luck.
Yeah, it is. You don't want Buddy Ashiel playing in that position, is it?
No, you don't.
He's injured apparently at the moment.
Yeah, have you got? I mean, Chalobah obviously has had a good season. Cucurella as well, probably one of the most annoying players out there, but how effective he's been. But I'm going back. Actually, then when you get to Sanchez, I'm still not convinced by the goalkeeper, Sanchez. I still think that might be an issue. Although he made some good saves out in America.
Right, quick one on Forest v Brentford. Nuno a little bit dischuffed about what's been going on in pre-season. Doesn't think his squad's necessarily strong enough at the moment.
Well, there are a few more days to go. They can absolutely strengthen. They've held on to Gibbs White
and held on to the Europa League as well.
Yeah, absolutely, good one for. They've handled that one well, and Nuno himself, I think, signed a new contract. Ole Einar signed a new contract. I think they're in a pretty good place.
Tomorrow night, talkSPORT exclusive. It's Leeds versus Everton. That'll be presented by Adrian Durham with commentary from Sam Matterface, former Watford captain Troy Deeney, and former Leeds and Everton winger Aaron Lennon. Leeds v Everton. Are you salivating about that one?
I'm looking forward to seeing Jack Grealish back on the pitch because he's an entertainer. I'm also fascinating to see how Leeds do, because they might need another striker. I think Farke's been talking about that. I just think that, we talk about the gentrification of football and how some of the stadiums have lost a little bit of their atmosphere. You go to Elland Road.
Oh, there's nowhere better, as Henry would say. He says that about every club.
I wouldn't say there's anywhere better. I mean, I would just say that for atmosphere,
what?
It's up
there with what?
Well, Celtic Park, Sunderland, but no, come on, Elland Road. There's something visceral in the air.
More than?
I'm not saying. I'm just putting up.
More than Newcastle, more than Spurs, more than really. It's better.
No, I wouldn't say better.
It's
I would
the
put
same
them up
as everybody else.
It's not the same. You can't say
so.
It's
better.
Same.
Oh,
it's different. There's something different when you go into Elland Road. The noise. You're such a Newcastle fan.
This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. Coming up next, it's our new feature, Best of the Best. The NFL returns to Wembley in October as the Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we have a huge competition to win VIP tickets. That's right, we're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box at Wembley Stadium with full hospitality plus $5,000 spending money. Here's how to enter.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
And now, it's time for our new feature.
One of the greatest tries ever scored, but she won't get there. Kaylee Hodgkinson is the Olympic champion.
I'm going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Oh, Stephen Harmison, one of the great balls. Double 12! Oh, my word!
Best of the best on Sunday edition.
I think I'm a special one.
I think he's done it! Yes! You beauty!
Let's be having you!
On talkSPORT.
Yeah, this is our new feature, Best of the Best. And because Manchester United are playing Arsenal today, we thought we'd look at the best of the best between Manchester United and Arsenal. Not necessarily the best football, sometimes the best incidents, the most controversy, anything that really, really got us going. Me and Henry have made a note of a few of them here. 8-2 v Manchester United. Manchester United won 8-2 against Arsenal, 28th of August 2011. Pizzagate, Fabregas and Fergie in 2004. Arsenal winning the league at Old Trafford in 2002. And Wenger being sent to the stands, August 2009. Where would you like to start, Henry? Which is your favourite?
It's amazing. You've come up with those 4, and obviously I can echo those. But, I mean, there are so many.
Oh, absolutely.
Just very quickly, if I can just throw these ones into the mix, and I promise you I wasn't covering it. 1894, Division 2.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I was a cub reporter. Newton Heath 3, Woolwich Arsenal 3. I mean, I think that was the first fixture. But, sorry, between the two. 1990, you didn't even mention the ball.
Oh, yeah.
The Limpar versus Dennis Owen. And I think everyone got involved in the brawl apart from David Seaman.
That's right,
Safe hands. Points deductions, players' fines, just kind of sort of set the tone for the M&T. We're very much, so I got this right, we're very much focusing on games at Old Trafford.
Yes, we are.
Yes, okay.
So you can't have the semi-final of the Cup, for instance.
No, I tell you
Which we will get round to in best of the best FA Cup semi-finals, no doubt.
At Villa Park.
At Villa Park, yeah.
I mean, that was incredible.
These are Old Trafford.
Can I just throw in 2001, Manchester United 6, Arsenal 1, possibly one of the worst individual performances by a footballer I've ever seen in 1,000-odd years covering this game. Stepanov. Dwight York, your mate Dwight York, spinning Stepanovs on the halfway line. It was extraordinary. I think Yorkie got a hat-trick. Can we start with Battle of the Buffet, though?
Indeed. Battle of the Buffet. Explain the background.
Well, you were there. And the buffet, and I was there, and I remember watching on television, in the press room there, and you would watch sort of, Sir Alex was at Ferguson at the time, was doing his interview on Sky, and then when he reappeared afterwards in the press conference room, he'd obviously changed his shirt, and I think maybe something should have sort of twigged then,
But the context is that Manchester United
ended Arsenal's
49-game
unbeaten
record.
run.
And it would be fair to say Arsenal were none too pleased about it.
Yeah, and also individually, Van Nistelrooy's challenge on Ashley Cole. Wenger went off on one. I think he accused 1 or 2 people of cheating. I think he was fined about $15,000 in the end. So it was pretty epic. And in a way, I think it did a lot of damage to Arsenal's season.
Do you think that the Man United...
Sorry, it's a 2-0 win, obviously, for United.
Yeah. Do you think the rivalry between Wenger and Man United made these fixtures so much more special?
Yeah.
Wenger and Fergie?
Yeah, because you would go to Ferguson press conference and Wenger's press conference, and there was very much that element from Ferguson, is that he felt that Wenger didn't necessarily respect all the sort of the English traditions.
What,
like Sam Allardyce
the bottle
did.
of wine?
Yeah, the bottle of wine and all that. Ironic, as Wenger grew up in a a pub in Alsace, or a tavern or an inn in Alsace. So yeah, I think there was that, but maybe also Ferguson was like that because he realised that Arsenal under Wenger were now a threat.
And of course, there's Keane v Vieira, which was probably
that was Highbury more, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, whenever they came together, it was always spiky, to say the least. But Arsenal won the league at Old Trafford in 2002. It was one of my first games I did when I became chief football writer on the Sun. Remember it well. To win, there's nothing better for Arsenal. I mean, you say you'd love to win it in front of your own fans, but to win it at Old Trafford and go celebrating in that corner with the rest of Old Trafford completely deserted. It was a Wednesday night, Tuesday night. I'm trying to remember now. It was quite a triumph.
They also wanted a White Hart Lane, so those games are huge.
And it made it the double, because I think the FA Cup final had been before that game. I think possibly, or maybe not. Anyway, it was the double. It was a double winning year. Wiltord was a strange sort of player who won that, because he'd won the Euros for France, or he'd scored in the Euros for France in 2000. And people were never quite convinced about him as an Arsenal player, but crucial goal.
Yeah, well, Wenger obviously rated him highly, and that was when he had the sort of Midas touch with his recruitment of so many players, some of the French players that he brought in. But just coming back to that sort of Wenger rivalry with Ferguson, I mean, I think there was one point when Ferguson, Wenger was expecting an apology from Fergie, and then Wenger. I remember going to see Wenger upstairs,
at the press conference,
and he said it must be coming by horse or something.
Have you had the apology yet? No, it must be coming by horse. Don't think he ever got it. It was a very slow horse.
No, but I think that if you talk to Arsenal fans, they began worrying about Wenger when Ferguson started saying nice things about him, because they thought he wasn't a threat anymore. He'd lost his edge. Do you remember that LMA sort of tribute evening when the two of them were on stage? I think it was a fundraiser for one of the LMA's charities, and Ferguson, not patting him on the head, because Ferguson wouldn't do that, but that camaraderie, that bonhomie, to use a French word, I think just sort of signalled that Arsenal's threat under Wenger towards Manchester United had gone.
One of the iconic images of the rivalry is Wenger being sent to the stands in August 2009 and having nowhere to sit, and his arms are outstretched as he stands behind the dugouts.
It is one of the great pictures. It's almost sort of ecclesiastical, religious, the way he was sort of stretching his arms out like that. It was we're surrounded by all the Manchester United fans around, and if you zero in on some of the faces, they're sort of cackling and goading and laughing. And it is one of the great photographs.
And he'd kicked a water bottle because they'd had a goal, an equaliser disallowed, I think, for offside late on, and he wasn't best pleased. But it was so funny. And he afterwards was saying, "Well, I did nothing wrong. I don't know why I was sent there." Well, you kicked the water bottle.
But Wenger always had this feeling that some of Ferguson's managerial friends would always sort of turn the footballing amp up to 11 when they played Arsenal, like Sam Allardyce, and Arsenal, often struggled against Bolton.
Man United's 8-2 victory over Arsenal at Old Trafford. I always remember, for reasons I can't explain, I just remember Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming on the touchline at, I think, 6-1 down. He'd just been signed by Arsenal. He must have been thinking, what on earth? Why are you giving me my debut in this one? I mean, it was an awful, awful day. Probably the worst day Wenger ever had as an Arsenal manager, maybe.
8-2.
Well, obviously, they lost the European Cup final, but getting beaten 8-2 at Man United is hard.
Yeah, that is brutal. 8-2. I mean, that is not it's almost a badminton score that you play these other sports.
No, but I think it showed. Well, I mean, you were talking a bit about Wenger's decline. You're sort of on the way even back then.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the drift was clearly on, and the fans were beginning to turn. 8-2.
Don't think it's going to be 8-2 today. I would doubt. Could be famous last words.
Give us a prediction then.
I've already given you. I said Arsenal are going to win today.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, that was a bit down memory lane. That was the best of Manchester United v Arsenal. We'll have another best for the best of the best for you next week. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Next up, our special guest, West Ham Vice Chair, Baroness Karen Brady.
Aguero, Solskjaer, Deeney, Watkins. Sure, you know all about those last-minute goals, but have you heard the one about the on-loan goalkeeper who saved his temporary employers from disappearing out the Football League and into almost certain financial oblivion? Back in 1999, Carlisle United, managed by Nigel Pearson, were fighting to stay in the Football League. Carlisle's finances were precarious with a capital P that season, leading to a scenario where, with 3 games to go, they had to ask the FA to sanction an emergency loan deal to bring in a goalkeeper. Swindon Town's Jimmy Glass arrived at the club. His efforts in his first 2 games earned the Cumbrians 2 draws. Those vital points meant that Carlisle went into their final game of the Division 3 season, now League 2, needing to beat mid-table Plymouth Argyle in front of their own fans and hope their relegation rival Scarborough didn't win against Peterborough at home. The game at the McCain Stadium finished 1-1, and with the same scoreline at Brunton Park deep into injury time, Scarborough's fans invaded the pitch en masse, believing their Football League status was secure, convinced they'd done enough to stay up. However, there'd be one more plot twist. Carlisle won a corner in the dying seconds, and up came Jimmy Glass. In one of those you couldn't make it up moments, Glass scored from a rebounded header and was promptly swamped by teammates and thousands of fans who quite simply couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. As for Jimmy Glass, he became an overnight celebrity, but he never played for Carlisle again, and his playing career never really kicked on after that defining moment. He took on various jobs outside of football before finding his way back into the sport as player liaison officer at Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, and most recently the general manager at non-league Wimborne. Not the fairy tale ending to one of the most Hollywood moments in football, but the name Jimmy Glass will live on forever as the scorer of that goal, arguably the most important in any club's history.
Yeah, this is Sunday Edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. And for the next hour, we are joined by our very, very special guest, Baroness Brady of Knightsbridge, also known Karen Brady, West Ham Vice Chair, who must have woken up this morning and thought, oh, no, I can't believe it. I've offered to go on talkSPORT or agreed to go on talkSPORT this morning. You must have felt like keeping your head under the pillow after yesterday.
Well, I wish yesterday could start all over again. I mean, it's so tough to take. It's never easy for the supporters, the players, the manager for a 3-0, particularly the opening game of the season. But look, I spent a lot of time with the manager and the squad in America on the pre-season tour, and the spirit amongst them is fantastic. And I know that they'll be more disappointed, that they'll be the most disappointed people this morning. And I know we'll see a reaction, and I'll know they want to turn it around, and they want to turn it around quickly.
I remember you telling me you were going on the tour this summer, and you maybe haven't done that before with West Ham. I don't know, but what do you learn going off on a tour like that? And why, if you like, why did you? Were you checking up to see how things are?
No, it was the Premier League Summer Series, and it's a really important part of being involved in the Premier League to actually go and talk to our broadcasters, talk to our sponsors in America. Our biggest support base outside the United Kingdom for the club is in America. So being out there, seeing how different people operate, getting to meet people, taking the club to, out there was a really important part. And what you learn about the dynamics of the team, the makeup, the spirit, the togetherness, the harmony amongst the team. I've never seen it as good as that before, and I was really thoroughly impressed. And the pre-season tour was so well organised. It was brilliant. So we had a really good time.
You've had a little bit of disruption, which ended up with good news in Lucas Paquetá being cleared of any match-fixing allegations and being reintegrated into the team, knowing that you're going to have him going forward, providing you don't sell him, of course. Did that make sort of preparation difficult in that you didn't actually know whether he would be playing or not?
Look, it's been a really tough time for Lucas. I mean, it's such a serious allegation, and it was, really hanging over him. And the FA were going for a worldwide lifetime ban. So the seriousness of the situation was incredible. He was, from day one when the accusation was made, absolutely resolute in the fact that he had nothing to do with this. And actually, there was no evidence that he had anything to do with it. So it came as a real relief. But we always took the view that we completely believed in him. We stood right the way alongside him throughout the whole scenario. And my advice to the manager and to him was just to carry on until we know any different. And that's exactly what we did.
Could he take legal action? Because it's effectively a restraint of trade. And also on the back of that, do you think that there should be some protocol in place that it doesn't take so long?
Could he take legal action? I don't know. I don't know what his personal situation is. I think initially the pressure of the case, the relief of the result. I think you then think about what next. But the impression on him is immense. I mean, the thing that is very difficult to understand is that the case is all about the balance of probabilities. It's not beyond reasonable doubt, which is a much higher bar. Is it 50-50 likely he did something, just slightly more than 51% likely, and then you're found guilty. So the bar is really low. But the FA didn't prove their case. There really was no evidence against him. And he proved his innocence. And I'm so pleased for him.
But it went on too long?
Well, it was a long case. I mean, it was a long case. Obviously, the football season was in the middle. He had to do it around his games. He had to give evidence himself. I think there were lots of reasons why it took a long time. He would have liked it to have gone much quicker so we could get it out the way. But it's not really in our control on the timings.
There's been a lot of talk about whether he'll stay at West Ham and suggestions, even last season, that he could have gone even to Manchester City. Can you be sure he's going to stay at West Ham?
I think he wants to stay, and we definitely want him to stay. So the thing is, he'll be staying.
One of the players he did lose was Mohamed Kudus, who played really well for Spurs yesterday and was a very influential player last season. It must have been difficult to lose him.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult to lose players that you want to keep. But, the financial restraints and the PSR and all the rules and regulations in football mean that you have to do some trading. That's just the way it is. All clubs are having to do it. You're either restricted on what you can buy because you have to be careful of the financial rules, or you have to sell to try and buy. So that was the decision that was made. He didn't have a particularly good season for West Ham last year by his own standards. So we looked to move on.
Do you sit there sort of in the summer with a calculator with the rest of the board going, well, if we sold him, that will bring in that amount of money, multiplied by that, divide by this? Is it that complicated?
It's getting more complicated. The rules are very precise. You have to be really careful, and you know what the consequences are, as we saw with clubs in the past. The points deduction, nobody wants that. You want to do all your business and earn your points or lose your points on the pitch. You don't want them taken from you. So you have to be really careful. You have to be really mindful, and you have to make sure you abide by the rules.
One of your best players, probably your best player, again, he fought hard yesterday, Jarrod Bowen. Was there presumably other clubs were sniffing around him?
Well, Look, you always talk to the manager about what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And there's certain players you just don't want to sell. And he would certainly fall in that category. He loves the club. We love him. The supporters love him. He's the kind of guy you can build a team around because he tries so hard all of the time. He's an exceptional player. He's a great captain. He's a pleasure to be around. So no, he's definitely a West Ham player.
His father-in-law is probably fairly useful.
Yeah, 100%.
We talked about players who are established, like Jared Bowen. You also brought in a new goalkeeper who Henry seemed to be punting every week for somewhere to get a move in the.
It's a news story.
I know, but you're working hard on getting him a transfer. What was the reasoning, do you think, behind bringing in another keeper to challenge your established ones?
Well, look, the manager makes a decision about the players that he wants and the positions that he needs, and he felt that he needed to freshen up that area and bring in a new player. So that's exactly what we did. We bought the player that he wanted, and he's a new addition to the team.
In Graham Potter, you have a manager who is described, even by Henry, as a project manager, somebody who builds and works at it. I always think that gives them a slightly free pass, because if you lose a game, you say, oh, well, we're still building, we're still working out how to play. Do you understand what I mean? And has he got that licence to have a bit of time to work it all out?
Look, Graham is a forward-thinking manager. He's sort of calm under pressure. He's very detailed in his approach. He's a great manager of players. He builds a special relationship with players and they understand where he's coming from. And he has a modern mindset. And all of those things mean that it does take some time to put a team together, to get the team playing the way that you want. I mean, West Ham is not a club that panics about its managers. We tend to support people, stick with them and see it through. I really hope he does well. He's a pleasure to work with. He's incredibly professional. And I know the players respect him. I know his relationship with the players is good. I know he'll be sitting down with them today to have a long, hard think about what went wrong yesterday, and expecting a reaction and expecting to put it right.
Do you need more pace in midfield?
I think that anyone would know that the answer to that question is yes. And that's what we're working hard on doing.
Of course, it doesn't get any easier. You've got Chelsea next Friday. That's a tough test when you've just gone and lost to a team that everybody expected to struggle. Now you're going in against, well, the world champions.
Yeah, I mean, we've beaten them before, though.
Oh,
I mean, you know, it's on. That's what makes the Premier League so good. The reason that the Premier League is the best league in the world, the most watched, the most beloved, is because it's so competitive. On any given day, any club can beat any other. And it's not always about the money that you spend. It's almost always about that. But sometimes it's about the magic you create, the chances that you get, the opportunities that you get. You take your luck. So I don't think there's any club West Ham should be frightened of. I mean, some clubs have come with a bigger reputation, but we're not frightened of anybody.
You obviously love football. You married a footballer. Can you enjoy games, West Ham games, because of what it means, the result means financially?
Well, I really enjoyed the pre-season games when there's no pressure. It's really different when you're watching a league game. I don't think people really understand. I mean, a lot of people, they look at club directors and they think we're quite remote, or they think we don't care in the way that supporters care. Trust me, we care. Yesterday hurt us as much as it hurt them. We're always thinking about what can we do every day to make the club better. All we want to do is fulfill all our hopes and dreams and expectations our supporters have. We're all supporters of the club. We're thinking all the time, what do we need to do? How do we need to do it? How can we improve? And when you don't get the results that you want, you're thinking about it even harder. And there is a pressure associated with that, you know, but you do football's only just begun. There's a long way to go. So we still have that expectation. We know this is a good squad. It has a quality about it. And for whatever reason yesterday it didn't click, but it hurts us just as much as it hurts everybody else. But it's our job to go and fix it. We can't sit there and go, oh, well, you know, what you're going to do. We have to say, right, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? How are we going to improve things? We know our supporters have huge expectation. We have it ourselves. But clubs that do well are the clubs where everybody sticks together. When things are going good, you know, nobody needs support. It's when things are tough, when things are not going the way that you want, how you support each other, how you lean on each other, how you create a trust circle, an embrace of support. That's so important.
Karen Brady is staying with us until 11 o'clock, and next up we'll be discussing ownership in football.
This is the talkSPORT Goal Show. It's the show for the fans. It's done by the fans.
Yes! Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Yes!
He is an unlocker of defences.
If you've got a problem or something to say,
You don't have the right to say anything about something. I do.
this nonsense kills the game. This is the talkSPORT Goal Show. It's the show for the fans. It's done by the fans.
Yes! Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Yes!
He is an unlocker of defences.
If you've got a problem or something to say,
You don't have the right to say anything about something.
This is Sunday Edition with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter, and up until 11 o'clock we are with Baroness Karen Brady, the West Ham Vice Chair, who got up this morning and came in despite West Ham getting a 3-0 drubbing at Sunderland. And we're moving on to talk about club ownership. Karen, the setup at West Ham hasn't changed a great deal almost since you were in there, but around you, club ownership is changing all the time. Owners come in with very different agendas. We wonder what the end game is for some of them. You go into a lot of Premier League meetings. You must think, I don't know where we're going sometimes.
Well, I don't necessarily think that. I mean, look, new owners come in, they have new ideas, they bring a fresh approach. They invest in their squads, they do the best they can for their clubs. I've got nothing against there's no owner I can think of in the Premier League that I think, oh, they're a bad owner and I wish they weren't around. I don't feel like that about anybody. I mean, look, this is the best sport in the world. People want to own Premier League football clubs. You have to accept that is the case, and you have to welcome them. And I think it's important that we listen to other people's ideas. Some are not so good, some are okay. But the thing is that we're all trying to do the best for our football clubs. I mean, it's some clubs would have no spending limits at all, where you can spend as much as you like, as often as you like. Some clubs think that there should be an amount you can spend every season. Every club can spend 100 million. You can't spend more, you can't spend less. Some clubs like squad cost ratio. Some clubs like profit and sustainability rules. So the Premier League's job is to try and create a system where it sort of works for everybody, where everyone's just a bit miffed. So if everyone's just a little bit miffed, it sort of works.
I sort of meant that when you get Saudi owners, they're in with a bigger picture, if you like, to develop sport and make Saudi a sporting centre with football and golf and boxing and all that. American owners come in and think, I wonder if eventually we can get away with this relegation thing and forget about that and just have franchises and maybe play games abroad, things like that. And then you have, as I say, yours is almost traditional owners who took over a club, want to win games, see it as an English league, and almost old-fashioned way, if that's
well
correct.
I think we look, there's fierce rivalry in the Premier League on the pitch. Once that whistle goes, it's fight to the death. But off the pitch, there isn't any rivalry, because a West Ham supporter is not going to wake up tomorrow and support Newcastle or vice versa. So we have to try and work together for the betterment of the league. And the key principles that make the league strong are its competitive nature. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to create a system where the same club wins the league every year, because that is a recipe for disaster.
But you have that with Manchester City. They won it 4
but they get pushed. But they do get pushed every year. It's not a foregone conclusion. They're not handed the title before the season has kicked off. So there is a lot of competition. So that's really important. The fullness of our stadiums, the vibrance of our atmosphere, those are things that are really important to maintain. And they're the pillars of the success, really. And the relegation and promotion, the hopes, the dreams, the disasters, the disappointments. Those three elements are really unique to the Premier League and have to be protected at all costs.
So you don't buy into this perception of a big six?
Well, what creates the big six is the European money, because, if we're all operating under the same financial rules, but my income through being in the Champions League is 300 million more than yours before we even start. And then you add sponsorship, and then you add gate revenue, and then you add corporate hospitality and retail and so on. The gap is hundreds of millions. And that's what creates the big six. It's the financial clout, not necessarily that they have better teams, but they have more financial clout. So ensuring that gap doesn't grow forever until the point where they're the only ones that can ever win it is really important to keep an eye on.
Would the current owners ever sell of West Ham?
No, I mean, one of our shareholders is looking to sell. Unfortunately, David Gold passed away, and then Jacqueline passed away, and the family are looking, what they should do with their shares, and they're very careful about what they're going to do. But I mean, we're a London club. We have a 67,000 capacity stadium. We would be very sought after. But no, I'm very lucky. I've got good shareholders that believe in the club, that love the game, that want to do the best that they can, and are very much staying.
But you are slightly concerned about the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and the column you did in The Sun on Saturday emphasised that, and you just picked out one of the stories we did last week, which was the gap just in kit.
Yeah.
Kit sales. I mean, who was at the top of 100 million?
I think it was Liverpool. And Sunderland at the bottom.
Sunderland was 500,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
£99,500,000 gap.
Yeah, and we can talk about what the prize money is in the Premier League and how the higher you get up, you get rewarded. But ultimately, going forward, those sort of things off the pitch make for the big disparity.
That's right. And that's why you have to have a different approach when you're looking at building a squad that can compete. You need to create teams that are hard to beat. You need to create that sense of spirit and morale amongst people. You need to get your supporters behind you. I don't think supporters understand just how important they are in a stadium. My players are always telling me that the supporters make the difference. You used to heard them yesterday at Sunderland, the away ground. We were getting beat, but they never gave up. That support, that constant backing that they give to them, that is what connects the club and the supporters, and you create this momentum that gets hard to stop.
One of the big discussions about ownership has come this week, really. Multi-club ownership, which has affected Crystal Palace, meant they were demoted to the Conference League. Are you a fan of multi-club ownership? Because I'm not sure what it really does for the English game, if you like. Man City have whatever they have, 13, 14 clubs. Many other clubs have tie-ups with others. Is it a good thing?
I don't really understand it myself. I think if you are looking to build, a brand of football and create a number of clubs for financial purposes, I sort of get it. Maybe it's about moving players in between those clubs and feeder clubs. That could also work. But on the face of it, I can't imagine being focused on more than one football club. I mean, all of my energy and my boards, all of our time, all of our focus, all of our dreams, all of our desires are all into one club. When you've got 13 clubs, I would struggle how you would make that work.
Well, what situation would the club have been in, sort of financially, and also in the sort of the pyramid system, if you'd stayed at Upton Park?
Well, the stadium has brought a number of things. One, it's brought 67,000 people, and 35,000 of those are family, so it creates a great atmosphere. Equally, it's given us a platform on which to generate more income, which allows us to go and invest in the squad. I mean, no one at the club takes any money out of the club. It's all about generating everything we can to continually improve ourselves. So, I mean, it wouldn't have been impossible to compete. I mean, you look at Bournemouth, I think they've got a 11,000 capacity. It wouldn't have been impossible, but it certainly would have been harder.
But you're aware fans still criticise it, don't they? Who loved Upton Park, and that it's often struck me as a stadium where when it's going well, it's brilliant atmosphere, and when it's not going so well, you can really feel the negativity.
But that's the same in any club, in any stadium, in any part of the world. Every supporter is happier when you're winning than when you're losing, and when you're winning, the atmosphere is great. When you're not winning, it's different.
This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Baroness Brady stays with us till 11 o'clock.
It's not often you associate fan power with Chelsea Football Club, but one of the shining examples of it lies with a group called the Chelsea Pitch Owners. And they've proved to be the thorn in the side of owners past and present who've been dead set on moving stadiums to a larger, more lucrative piece of land. Essentially, the supporters group holds the freehold to the land on which Stamford Bridge sits. Former owner Ken Bates set it up at a time where some unruly property developers tried to evict the club from their ground. In order to prevent this, he established the CPO as a company that owned the pitch and offered the fans the chance to buy a share for £100. As well as that, they also own the rights to the name Chelsea Football Club, so if any owner wants to take them elsewhere, they can't be called Chelsea without the approval from the CPO. Now, in 2011, Roman Abramovich tried and failed to move them away from Stamford Bridge, and this has set a precedent for Todd Bowley and the current power brokers at Chelsea. They know any plan which involves moving from Stamford Bridge will require CPO approval from the now 13,000 fans who own it. There are fans who are concerned that if they stay at the bridge, they'll be left behind their domestic and European rivals who are moving to more commercially successful stadiums. But for the heritage and history lovers, Stamford Bridge is one of the iconic English stadiums, and to move away would be a grave mistake. It might not be as flashy as others, but stadiums like it have something about them that cannot be replaced. One thing's for sure, if Bowley wants to take Chelsea away from their home, he'll have to go through the CPO first.
Half an hour to go on Sunday edition, where we're in the company of Baroness Karen Brady, the West Ham Vice Chair. We've covered quite a few subjects before, and one we want to get on to now is one that I think frustrates many, many football fans in this country, and it is Man City and their 115/130 charges. What on earth is going on? And as you go to all the high-powered meetings, have you got any insight?
No, I don't. I have no insight at all, except that a decision has to be coming pretty soon, I would have thought. I mean, I have no idea why it's taking so long. I think the accusations are pretty serious. They have the opportunity to defend themselves, and then we'll see what the outcome is.
Does anything ever crop up in Premier League meetings about this? Like somebody puts their hand up and say, can you give us an indication, Mr. Masters, who's the chief executive, about when we'll get come to an end in this?
No, they don't, because you wouldn't get an answer anyway. And even if they did, I'd never tell you, because what happens in Premier League meetings stays in Premier League
meetings.
Oh, for the most.
But
anyway.
do you not think, as a general rule, it's something that does take far too long? I mean, potentially, if it went the wrong way, Manchester City's Premier League titles could be expunged. The whole of history of football for the last 10 odd years could be changed. And yet here we are, just sitting waiting. Any day something might turn up, but it might be a month's time, 6 months, a year. I don't know.
Look, I can imagine how frustrating it is for them not to know what's happening and not know what the outcome is. But I think it's a serious accusation which has to be carefully considered. And that is not something to be rushed. I mean, I think everybody would hope that the right decision comes out for the right reasons. And at some point, we'll all get to see what those reasons are. And then we'll know what the accusation is, what the charges are, and what the defence was and what the outcome was.
Do you think there should be total transparency and we should hear, or do you think a lot of things that come into the public domain will be redacted?
Well, it definitely will be redacted. I think it's impossible to think it will be published completely openly. I think it'll definitely be redacted. I mean, for me, what I would like more than anything else is for this matter to be resolved and for us all to move on. I mean, the legal costs are huge. You're talking tens and tens and tens of millions of pounds that the Premier League clubs, i.e. all of us, are paying. We would like nothing more than it to come to an end, to put it beside us, and for everybody to move on.
How much is it working out? Each club has to put in.
Well, millions. It's millions, and it hasn't finished yet. And obviously, if Man City win, there'll be a huge legal bill that the Premier League has to pick up. So, look, I understand if the accusation is serious, in the same way I understand what the FA brought the charge against Lucas, and everyone has a right to defend themselves. But during that period of being accused and finding out what the result is, it has been far too long. And I think for all of us, we would like to draw a line under the matter. I'm sure Man City, more than anybody else, would like that to be the case.
I mean, they've even managed to speed up VAR. I mean, surely with something like this, you could actually have a time limit.
I think the most important thing is that you get the correct outcome, whatever that is, as opposed to speed. There's certain things where speed is more important than accuracy, but actually on this case, I think accuracy is more important than speed.
Henry's a big fan of the regulator. I'm a bit on the fence about it. I can see it's important from some points of view, but not with others. But there's nothing a regulator could have done about this. This is the most serious case, if you like, going on in English football, and they couldn't have stepped in.
Well, I would hope not. I mean, a regulator is... we remain to be seen what a regulator can bring to the game, but a regulator should not be interfering in the rules of football. And if it does interfere in the rules of football, UEFA will certainly have something to say about that. I mean, UEFA wrote a letter saying that they are very concerned about a regulator because the only person who should have supremacy over the governance of football in England is the FA. Mm-hmm. So if the regulator was getting involved in breaches of rules, that would be a very poor place to be. But I don't think the regulator has any intention of doing that.
No, it's not in their remit. And also UEFA have sort of clarified that. Do you think that we wouldn't need a regulator if the FA was stronger?
Well, the FA is the governing body to uphold the rules and the discipline. They're not involved in the sustainability of football, which is what the regulator's remit's going to be. So I don't think the regulator is thinking, I've got to organise the England team a bit better. I've got to sort out grassroots a bit better. I've got to work out disciplinary cases better. Not thinking any of that. And the FA's remit has nothing to do with the sustainability of football. The breaches of the rules as a result of that, that's a matter for the leagues.
What do you think the regulator's for? You seem a bit confused what a regulator will give us. What for the rest of us?
You spoke very strongly in the House of Lords, didn't you?
I did. I think the bill we've ended up with was far better than the one we started with. The theory of a regulator now becomes the practice. So we're going from, a regulator to here is the regulator. And we have to ensure that the regulator is light touch, that it doesn't affect the growth of football, that it doesn't disrupt the competitive balance of football, because that would be a mistake. It should stay out of the way that are clubs that are well run, and it should step in only when required to do so. I'm worried about a lot of red tape that becomes involved in, for clubs, not clubs in the Premier League that are well resourced, but clubs as you go down the leagues who have to provide so much information. I mean, in the National League, most of them are run on volunteers. They don't have armies of accountants to provide. So I think there's certain nervousness amongst, how light touch this regulator is going to be. But if it helps create better owners and better outcomes for the way clubs are run, then that would be a good thing.
Where are you with the sort of the long-delayed new deal with the EFL?
Well, look, the EFL were recently offered a deal by the Premier League. I know because I was selected as one of the people to put that deal to them, and the EFL turned it down. I mean, that would have saved a lot of football clubs in the EFL that are currently having situations. And what the EFL board, who didn't share this deal with their clubs, what the EFL board came back with was we want a 75-25% split of the revenue, but we also want a reunification. So they want the Premier League and the EFL to become one again. That's the first time that was ever mentioned to us, but that's what they wrote to us. And they said, we want a 75-25% split of the revenue, and we want a reunification of all the leagues. Take it or leave it, frankly.
But surely that means the end of the EFL, because the Premier League would just take over then.
Well, it would mean an expansion and a reunification, which means all the clubs are back together. I mean, the Premier League is a very specific, it generates all of the revenue that props up the entire football pyramid, and it does that because it's special. It doesn't do that by having 92 teams in it. It's a different scenario, and the reason the Premier League broke away in the first place is that the ambitions and and interests of Liverpool are very different to those at Carlisle at the other end of the table. So it doesn't go anywhere. These conversations don't go anywhere. But the EFL say they need the money, but they actually don't want the money because they were offered the money and they turned it down.
Would you have a PL2?
It'd have to be a very strong reason for having it. What I don't want to happen is that you create these top 6 clubs you were talking about earlier, and then a washing machine of other clubs just come and go who can't really ever, their supporters could never hope to win the Premier League. They're just interchangeable and they just make up the numbers. That I would definitely not want to see.
What could you do to help clubs, the likes of, let's face it, a big club like Sheffield Wednesday, who were once part of the elite of English football, smaller clubs like Morecambe, who could go out of business. We were talking earlier about a regulator. Now, the regulator probably wouldn't have opposed the ownership of either of those 2 clubs when they came in. Is there anything the game can do to make it more secure for clubs like that?
Well, I think that obviously the Premier League funds the entire pyramid, but we don't tell the clubs what to do with the money that they get. So we don't say, here's £5 million, this is how you have to spend it. I think the regulator will. I think the regulator will say, here is money, but it comes with these strings attached, and you won't be able to spend it on players, and you won't be able to spend it on wages, and you won't be able to spend it here, and you won't be able to spend it there. I do. I think, well, the regulators' sole purpose is to make football sustainable. And the only way you make it sustainable is if you curb spending where you can't afford to spend it. So if you stop spending on players and wages, you become more sustainable. Will the supporters like it? I don't think they will. Will the clubs like it? I don't think they will. But how else is the regulator going to make those clubs sustainable if they don't put some sort of measures on how they spend their money?
Would a regulator potentially have stopped you moving?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we obviously had to apply for permission to move, and we had to state our cases of why we moved. I mean, we moved less than a mile away within the same borough. So I think if we were Newcastle wanting to move to London, I think someone would have something to say about that. But what actually we were moving, there was a stadium there that was already built, was built for the Olympics. The Olympics was over. It could have become like all the other stadiums in the world that the Olympics have been to, with tumbleweed running through it. But now it's vibrant, it's full, it's exciting, it's a great place to be, it's easily accessible, and we've got 35,000 families, so it's a success story.
You're listening to Sunday Edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter, where we're in the company of Baroness Karen Brady, and up next we'll be looking back at Karen's life in football. We're in the final straight on Sunday edition, where we're in the company of Baroness Karen Brady, West Ham's vice chair. Karen, you started in this game. You were a single lady when you became a chief executive. You're now a grandma. You're still you're still a chief executive.
Yes. Decades later.
An awful lot of water passed under the bridge. I was watching Brady's Blues on Amazon Prime, and there you are. You popped up as the
very young.
The
I've seen it myself.
And it isn't about you, Brady's Blues.
No,
it is
no.
actually about Tom Brady.
Yes.
But it was interesting to see you there, and let's be honest, full of life, looking forward to the job. When you look back on that, can you believe everything that's happened in your football career?
Look, though it's a long time ago, but they were some of the best times of my life. I mean, it was such an exciting place to be. There was so much to do. I mean, there was such a different atmosphere. I mean, the sexism was horrific. The ageism was horrific, because obviously I was young and female and coming into football. I mean, I remember at my first press conference, I did this really serious presentation of all the things I was going to do with Birmingham City. And when I'd finished, I asked the press any questions. A little hand went up, and I said yes, and he said, "What are your vital statistics?" So no one was interested in my brain. They were only interested in my vital statistics. And I said to him, "Look, I know it's hard for you to think of a woman, and a young woman at that, coming here to run a football club." I said, "But trust me, when you come back in 10 years' time, I'm going to set the standards that others are going to follow." And with that, it was very dramatic. I flicked my big hair. And as I walked off the stage past this journalist, he said to me, "Well, you haven't got a dick, but you have got great big balls." And if you could say that on a Sunday morning, I don't think it's a swear word. I don't know. But it's true. It was, I don't have but I do probably have great big balls.
When you look back at that footage, can you remember how you felt? Were you nervous? Yes, you were delivering the big lines and showing that you were here to stay and somebody who was going to make a mark on football. But was there a nervousness inside?
I think an excitement. You know, I was 23 years old, desperate to look at least 25. And I had really just positivity about what I could do and excitement. And this energy that you have when you're that age to want to go and do things. It was a massive experience, a massive learning curve. I loved it. I had a wonderful time there. I've watched the series. I thought it was excellent. I think Tom Brady is a wonderful example of what an investor can bring in terms of his approach, his knowledge, his understanding of being a professional, being an athlete, what it takes to win. I do nothing. I want nothing but. I wish them nothing but the best.
You know the city of Birmingham.
Yes.
What's it going to be like when they move into that new stadium, whenever it is? Because it's quite a development plans they've got there.
Yes. I mean, look, building stadiums regenerates areas and creates jobs. It creates vibrancy. It creates destinations, places where people can come together. All cities that should, would be my advice. I think it'd be brilliant for the city.
But even when you went in there at the start, you probably looked around that stadium and thought, you know what, this needs a bit of redevelopment.
Well, it was all standing, almost all standing. I mean, two sides were all standing when we went, and we had to rebuild two of the sides. So yes, it's changed a lot.
And when you look at that documentary and you see Tom Brady going around, do you thinking, yep, I remember that, I know that, I realise that problem there, and like...
Well, look, it's a long time ago. You know, it's 15, 16 years since we were there. So a lot has changed. I remember certain parts of it. They've changed a lot of the internal makings. There's not things you instantly recognise. It's a bit like going back to your childhood home. You recognise the outside, but there's a lot inside that's changed from when you were there. But as I say, I enjoyed the programme. I wish them nothing but the best.
We'll be back with Karen Brady in a sec. But first, it's Ipswich v Southampton, which is on talkSPORT 2. Team news with Joe Shannon.
Good morning. Yes, significant lead for Southampton. Tyler Dibbling is on the bench today, despite those links with a move away that have continued across the summer. Mateus Fernandes starts for the first time in the league this season. Harwood Bellis also comes in after the opening weekend win over Wrexham. Edwards and Sugawara drop out for Saints. Ipswich seek a first win of the new season. One change from the opening league game. The draw at Birmingham. Philogene for Ogbeni. New signing Chuba Akpom not yet ready to be involved. Ipswich against Southampton. It'll be live on talkSPORT 2.
Thank you, Joe. Karen, we were talking about your life at Birmingham City, and obviously you then moved to West Ham. What was the big differences between going from there to West Ham, which you probably think is a bigger club?
Well, yeah, it was definitely a bigger club. But a lot of the problems were the same. It was also almost in administration. It had also lost its way. It also had made some bad decisions. It needed sorting out. It needed some of the levers pulled. It needed a new stadium. All of the problems are pretty similar, but on a much bigger scale.
Did you ever feel that it has to be simply about results, or this whole West Ham, the academy, all that element is still important? You can't just have a sequence of 1-0 narrow wins. There has to be some element of flair.
Look, results are vital in football. It's all about the result. That's what we work all day, every day to achieve. But equally, what makes West Ham special is our never say die attitude, our belief in our community, a belief in our supporters, that togetherness that we have, that wanting to do well, that working man spirit. All of those things are really important to us. Our academy is vital to us. Our community is vital to us. I mean, if you think about how special West Ham is as a club, if you remember during COVID, myself and my players, we took a 30% pay rise to ensure nobody lost their job. No clubs did that. Pay cut, yeah. What did I say?
Pay rise.
Oh, I meant pay cut. Sorry.
I've been hanging around the Premier League too long.
I've been too long. Pay cut to ensure nobody lost their job. And that's something we all did voluntarily. And that makes us special. The fact that we all go into our communities, we care about what we do, we care about our integrity, how we've got the highest level of PLEDIS, which is the Premier League Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, because bringing your whole self to work and being who you are at West Ham is really important to us. So it is a special club.
I've got to give a quick apology for what you said earlier, Karen, about... anyway, we know what it was about, but we understand Karen's sentiments. Anyway, crack on.
Yeah, I thought you expressed it very eloquently. You've obviously been in football a long time. Yeah, just on the community element, I remember talking to you during COVID and the things that you were doing and Mark Noble was doing, because people, we look at your stadium now, the Olympic Stadium, and you look at, as you say, the shopping malls and all the buildings that are going up. But actually, it's a fairly impoverished area, not far from your doorsteps. And the work that you've done there, Mark's done there, and your community operation is remarkable.
It's incredible. It's one of our greatest sources of pride. It's an award-winning project because it is so special and it changes people's lives. The football is everything we think about, but how we can use the football to care for other people, to change other people's lives, to bring communities together. The work that we do with our local NHS saves millions of pounds for the NHS through our campaigns that we do for anti-diabetes. The work our players do with reading with kids in schools, the fitness work that we do, the summer meals that we provide when kids are on school holidays who don't get a hot meal in our area. We're providing that food. The work that we do is groundbreaking, and it's something we're so very proud of.
I'm not sure this is something we can really cover totally in 2 minutes, but you are seen as a bit of a pioneer for women in football, and it has changed a heck of a lot since you started off at Birmingham City, off the pitch, on the pitch. How proud of you, if you like, are you that you blazed a trail?
Well, everything I have done throughout my career has always been focused on helping other women achieve their goals and their aims. And a great source of pride for me is that 50% of my senior leaders at director level at West Ham are women. It was the same at Birmingham City. I opened a door for myself And I have spent my career ensuring that door is held open as wide and as long as possible to get as many other women through as possible. And I use my position in the House of Lords to fight for equality, to fight for the gender pay gap, to fight for violence against women and girls. I use everything I can within my toolbox to make it easier for the next generation of women, not only coming into business, but carving out a career or just generally living their lives. It's really important to me.
Do you think now that we've got there, that women in football is established, if you like, and that everyone accepts it and nobody really draws a distinction?
Yes, I 100% agree with that. And that is through a change in mindset, women coming into the game, doing really well, being hugely successful and professional, and devoting their lives to their careers within football. I've got some in my own team who are a credit to my football club. So, yeah, I think that there's certainly if you think about it, the chair of the FA is a woman, the chair of the Premier League is a woman. So we've certainly come a long way since the 33 years or however many years it is since I joined football.
Karen, absolutely brilliant. It's been fantastic to have you on this morning. Learned a lot. I'm sure you're looking forward to West Ham v Chelsea on Friday night, which is live on talkSPORT, and wish you the best of luck for that. Up next, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning.